Last week, my mom showed up at my office unannounced, wearing this fake-ass smile like we hadn't been emotionally estranged for years. She looked around the lobby like she was seeing ghosts. "This is nice," she said. "Yeah. You know what else is nice? Being left alone. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. Let me take you back to where this whole mess really started because, trust me, it wasn't about one phone call or one bad birthday. This was years in the making, years in. A year ago, I was working double shifts at the family diner in Atlanta Trans Noodles and Deli. Catchy, right? Except none of that name had anything to do with me. My name's Lena. I'm the oldest daughter, the one who stocked the shelves, cleaned grease traps, and made payroll happen when things got rough during the pandemic. But you'd never know that if you met my family. Because my cousin Danny Golden Boy, Golden Child, Golden Fraud, if we're being honest, he was the face of the restaurant, always up front charming customers, always taking credit for stuff I fixed behind the scenes. You think he knew how to calculate food cost or do vendor negotiations? Please. Dude thought net profit was a type of fish. My parents acted like he was some kind of prodigy because he knew how to smile in Instagram stories. Me. I was just good at spreadsheets and too shy for business. WTF. 3 years ago, Danny decided he wanted to open a second location. My parents instantly offered to co-sign a lease. Did anyone ask me what I thought? Nope. Did anyone mention the fact that my name was already on the loan that helped save the original shop during lockdown? Hell no. But fine. I shut up. I smiled. I made shit work because I thought that's what family does. Then he screwed it all up. Over-ordered inventory. Didn't read the lease. Didn't even notice the building had a rat infestation clause the landlord triggered after 2 months. Place was a disaster. Guess who cleaned up the contracts and negotiated the lease termination? That's right. Me. Guess who got thanked? Not me. 2 years ago, I pitched an idea to turn part of our unused supply room into a local pop-up for handmade Vietnamese home goods things I could source directly from artisans back in Saigon. A chance to blend old and new, modernize the brand, bring culture back into the business. My dad looked me dead in the eye and said, "Stick to what you know. You're not a creative." That hurt more than I want to admit. So I didn't pitch again. I stopped volunteering ideas. Instead, I started saving. 6 months ago, I quietly formed my own LLC, Tranquility Commons. LLC, nobody knew it was mine. I used a business partner in Texas as the public face, signed all docs through a legal proxy, and bought the entire strip mall our restaurant sat on. Yeah, the whole thing. They didn't notice because our lease wasn't up for another year, and they were too busy trying to save Danny's third failed ghost kitchen attempt. I didn't do it out of spite. I did it because I was done begging for space at a table I was building. This morning, I sat in my office across the street, above the new tea house I just invested in, watching as Danny stormed out of the diner, holding a notice in his hand. The look on his face when he read lease will not be renewed. Property under new ownership. Final 60-day notice. God. It was better than therapy. And guess what Mom called me 5 minutes later? "Lena, sweetheart, did you know the landlord is changing me?" "Yeah, I heard." Her voice cracked. "I don't know how we're going to keep the shop. Danny's out of ideas and your father's been..." I cut her off. "Maybe it's time y'all listen to the quiet one in the back." Later that night, I sat on my couch, Vietnamese iced coffee in hand, flipping through old texts from them. "You know what I saw? Can you send more money this month? Be nicer to Danny. He's trying. You're lucky to have a family business to fall back on." What a joke. They didn't see me when I was tutoring ESL at night to pay bills. They didn't ask when I was up rebalancing budgets at 2 a.m. to cover payroll. They only noticed me when I could help someone else look good. Well, guess what? Now I look good. And they're finally looking at me for real. Funny how that works. So here's what happened right after they found out. 2 days later, I was in the middle of a meeting with my marketing team for my newest project, a Vietnamese wellness cafe with zero waste practices, when I got a call from an unknown number. Normally, I don't answer those, but something told me to pick it up. Lena, it was my dad. Voice all low and tired, like he'd just come back from war. I just heard the news about the property. Is it true that someone bought it? I didn't say anything right away. Just let the silence sit. He hated silence. I mean, the building, the block, it's all under new ownership. Still nothing from me. Finally, I said, yeah, that's true. Pause. Do you know who? And I said it exactly like this. Yeah, Dad, it's me. You know that sound when someone drops a full glass on tile floor and just stands there watching the mess? That's what his silence felt like. You, he repeated. Me, he stammered. What, how, with what money? Oh, I've been running my own business for the past few years. You know, the thing you said I wasn't creative enough for that one. Turns out it did all right. The call dropped. I didn't call back. That night, I got texts from my mom, from Danny, even from my aunt, who barely knows how to use her phone. Mom, we need to talk. Danny, you can't just do this. The family depends on that business. Aunt Nee, is it true what your mom said? Yes, it's true, and no, I'm not sorry. A few days went by. I expected some kind of follow-up, maybe a meeting, maybe even an apology if they grew a conscience. Nope. What I got instead was a dinner invitation. Let's have family dinner. At the house. My mom said on the phone like we were just gonna chat over hot pot and pretend they didn't basically erase me from our lives for the past decade. I don't know why I said yes. Maybe part of me still wanted them to see me not just what I'd done, but who I'd become. So I went. The moment I stepped through the door, I knew it was a setup. Danny was already sitting at the table, laptop open, some presentation half-loaded. My parents were there too. Stiff smiles, eyes darting. My mom reached out like she was welcoming me home from college or something. I didn't hug her back. Lena, she started. We're so impressed. Really. What you've built is, wow. But we're worried. About the shop. About the family. Here it comes. Danny jumped in. Look, I know things haven't always been great between us, but if we work together, we can keep Trans alive. I've already got a pitch deck going for a full rebrand. I just need capital. And now that you own the property, I laughed. Like, full belly laugh. I couldn't help it. You invited me here to pitch me, like I'm some investor you found on LinkedIn. Danny looked hurt. My dad stayed quiet. My mom flinched. We're family, she said, voice cracking a little. We need to stick together. I leaned forward, calm, steady. I wanted them to remember this moment forever. No, you need me. And you never even noticed me until you needed something. Then I pulled out the manila envelope I'd brought, slid it across the table. What's this? My dad asked. An offer, I said, for you to buy back the lease. Market price. Full year up front. And I'll still need to approve your business plan. Danny's mouth opened, then closed, then opened again. You're charging us, he said. Yes, I said. Because the last time I gave freely, you laughed at me. Remember the artisan home goods idea? You said I wasn't creative. That was years ago, he snapped. Exactly, I said. And for years, I was your ghost, your backup plan, your free labor, your invisible ATM. Not anymore. My mom's eyes welled up. My dad clenched his jaw. You're being cruel, he muttered. No, I said, standing. I'm being professional. Something you never taught me how to be. By the way, I had to figure that part out on my own. I grabbed my purse. You've got 2 weeks to sign. After that, I'm leasing the space to a fusion ramen concept out of Seattle. They've already sent me a proposal. I didn't hear from them for a week. Then my mom sent an email, an actual email, not a text. It was long, rambling, said she was proud of me, said they didn't realize how much I'd done, said family doesn't always get it right, but they try. She asked if I'd reconsider. I didn't reply. Instead, I visited the diner. I stood outside, looked at the building, the cracked sign, the dusty windows. The same faded photos of Danny shaking hands with some local politician 10 years ago. There wasn't a single picture of me inside that place. Not one. I used to think that hurt. Now I'm just grateful there's no trace of me to erase. A few days later, Danny showed up at my office. He looked rough, unshaven, sweat stains under his shirt. "Lena," he said, standing in my doorway like some sad movie character. "I need to talk." I didn't even get up. "You've got 5 minutes." He sat, fumbled for words. Finally said, "I'm sorry. Okay, I was a jerk to you for years. I thought you were boring. I thought I was the smart one. But you were out here, building empires." I raised an eyebrow. "That your way of asking for help?" "No," he said, looking down. "I know I don't deserve anything from you. I needed you to know I get it now. What it's like to be invisible, to be blamed. Mom and Dad turned on me after the last place failed. They said I embarrassed the family, that I should be more like you." I blinked. "Oh, karma, huh?" After he left, I sat alone in the office. Thought about how much I used to want that. Recognition, validation, an apology. A real one. And now that it had finally come, it didn't fix anything. It didn't need to. Because I wasn't the backup plan anymore. I was the blueprint. And I built my own damn house. 3 days after Danny came by, my mom called again. This time, she didn't bother pretending. "We're going to lose the house." That's how she opened the call. Not hi. Not how are you. Just that, like dropping a bomb without warning. I was in line at my usual boba spot. I stared at the cashier while her voice kept going in my ear. Words like foreclosure, credit card debt, lawsuit. I nodded to the cashier, took my drink, walked outside. "Hey, you maxed out your cards," I asked flatly, sipping my drink. "How?" There was a pause. She didn't want to say it. "It was Danny," she finally muttered. "He convinced us to co-sign a loan for a new ghost kitchen. Said it was low risk." I laughed, out loud. People walking by looked at me. "You let the guy who thought food cost margin was a TikTok trend take out another loan under your name." She didn't respond. Of course not. And now, here she was, calling me like I was some emergency relief fund. "Mom," I said, trying to be calm. "What do you actually want?" She didn't answer directly, just kind of sighed into the phone like I was supposed to read her mind. "Let me guess." I said, "You want me to pay off the debt, save the house, and pretend none of this happened?" "No," she said quietly. "I want you to come home." Why, I snapped. "So you can ignore me in person instead of over text." "That's not fair," she whispered. I stopped walking. "No, Mom. What wasn't fair was watching you take out a second mortgage to fund Danny's rice paper taco truck while you told me I was selfish for taking a weekend off." She started crying. And here's the thing, part of me wanted to soften. I'm not made of stone. This was still my mom, even if she'd been emotionally absent for most of my life. But I also remembered something my therapist once said. You can love someone and still walk away. Love isn't a license to stay wounded. So I said, "I hope you figure it out. But I'm not your solution anymore." And I hung up. The next day, I got a visit. Not from Mom, from a woman named Evelyn. Real estate developer. Big shot. Drives a Tesla with personalized plates. Walks like she owns every sidewalk she steps on. She showed up at my office with a leather folder and a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Ms. Tran," she said, extending her hand. "I represent a group of investors interested in the block you currently hold." I didn't shake her hand. "Not for sale," I said, already knowing where this was going. She smiled again, tighter this time. "Everything has a price." I leaned back in my chair. "Cool. Mine starts at $12 million and ends with you promising never to say synergy in my presence again." That made her blink. Evelyn cleared her throat and tried a different approach. Look, your family's business has history, legacy. This area is about to be redeveloped. You're sitting on prime retail potential. Why not profit from it? I tilted my head. You know what legacy they gave me, a fake role in a business I kept afloat for 10 years, a blank spot in every family photo, a nickname, the Quiet One. I've got enough legacy. Evelyn tried again, offered me options, partial buyouts, partnerships, branded renovations. I told her no every time. Because here's the thing, I didn't build my life just to flip it for someone else's profit. I built it because no one else ever gave me space. And now that I had it, I wasn't handing over the keys. She left pissed. I was fine with that. A week later, I saw the news. My family's financial situation had made it to the local community group on Facebook. Somebody posted a photo of the diner with a lease expiring sign and a long-ass paragraph about family-owned businesses being destroyed by greedy landlords. Yeah, they painted me as a landlord. I'm sure they didn't name me directly. But the comment section went off. This is what happens when kids forget their roots. Capitalism killing community again. I've been going to trans since I was 12. This is sad. I was livid. I didn't respond, but I did scroll. Just watching people talk about me like I was some heartless outsider. Funny how none of them remembered me bussing tables at 6 a.m. or fixing the walk-in freezer in the middle of winter because no one else wanted to get up at 3 a.m. Then someone posted a screenshot of an old Yelp review written by me 5 years ago. It was glowing. I'd written it anonymously, praising the soup, the culture, the energy of the place back when I still believed we were a team. Back when I still had hope. That one hurt. Because I wasn't just losing a family business. I was grieving what I thought we had. A few days later, I got a letter. Not an email. A real, handwritten letter. From my dad. He's not the type to write. His whole thing was silent judgments and one-liners that stung more than they should have. But this was different. He started by calling me Lena. No kiddo. No my girl. Just my name. Then he said something I never expected. You were right. He went on to admit they'd taken me for granted. That they had focused so much on Danny because he was loud, visible, attention-grabbing, and that they figured I'd always be there. Quiet, helpful, reliable. He said, I'm sorry we only noticed your strength once it was too loud to ignore. I read that line 4 times. Still didn't know how to feel. And the letter ended with something that hit harder than any guilt trip could. We're not asking for help anymore. Just a chance to start over. Not as parents. Just as people. I folded the letter. Didn't cry. Didn't text back. But I did sit with it. For a long time. Last night, I took a walk by the old block. The diner was quiet. Closed for the night. Lights off. Chairs flipped. Like it was already starting to let go of being what it used to be. And me, I felt peaceful. Not because I'd won. Not because they were losing. But because I had finally stopped needing their apology to validate my existence. I don't know what's going to happen next. If they'll figure out how to survive. If they'll learn how to be better. But I do know this. I'm no longer trying to prove my worth to people who only ever saw me as backup. I'm not backup. I'm not background. I'm the damn architect. And I'm finally building a life where I'm not just included, I'm the foundation. It's weird when strangers have opinions about your life. That's what started happening a couple of weeks after that letter from my dad. It wasn't just whispers in the Facebook group anymore. It was blog posts. Support local campaigns. And even some guy on TikTok doing a dramatic reading of trans closure as if it were a funeral. He ended the video with, another cultural landmark bulldozed by gentrification. Shame. Okay, first of all, I'm Vietnamese American. My family owned the building. I didn't bulldoze HT. Second, I am the culture. But I get it. People need villains. Especially when it makes their nostalgia feel justified. They don't care that I scrubbed toilets in that diner or that I fixed the busted register after Danny shorted it with an energy drink spill. They see me now polished, professional, private office. Whole new vibe, and they assume I'm the outsider. The irony, this is the first time in my life I've actually felt inside anything I own. One day I'm scrolling. And I see this community blogger wrote a whole piece called, "Who's Behind the Diner's Demise?" You'd think I ran over someone's grandma. She quoted random customers who were mad. Former employees who blamed mismanagement but didn't name names, cowards. And even hinted that family disputes might be the reason the business was ending. No shit. You want to quote, "How about nepotism doesn't pay rent?" Anyway, I thought about clapping back, writing my own piece, telling my side. But I didn't. Because here's the thing I finally understand. Not every truth needs an audience. Sometimes, just living it is enough. That same week, Evelyn, remember her, the developer shark with the Tesla, came back. She showed up again, this time with her business partner, a man named Cal, who looked like he hadn't blinked since 2011. He wore all black and smiled like a man who owns more than one boat. They brought coffee and this big-ass packet of mock-ups for a modern Vietnamese fusion corridor. Cal said, "We're talking elevated pho experiences, artisan spring rolls, neon dragon murals. It's gonna be hot." I just looked at him like, "Sir, have you ever eaten real pho in your life?" Evelyn chimed in, "You could license your name, Lena Street Noodles. We build it. You collect checks." Oh, so now my name matters? I took a slow sip of my coffee, looked them both dead in the eyes, and said, "No, just that." Cal blinked, maybe for the first time this decade. Evelyn leaned in, annoyed. "You're turning down guaranteed equity in one of the fastest growing food corridors in the region." I smiled. "You can't build culture on concrete alone. And I don't do neon dragons." She left without finishing her latte. Later that night, Danny texted me again. "Danny, they're mad you didn't sell. Mom's been crying again. Not trying to guilt you, just keeping you updated." Me tell her I said hi. He didn't reply. Then came the twist I wasn't expecting. The new ramen shop I'd been in talks with, they pulled out. Not because of money, they were funded and ready, but because of backlash. One of the co-owners called me personally, said they didn't want to step into a family dispute zone with social drama attached. Cool, cool, cool. So now I was toxic by association. I could have pushed through, found a new tenant, flipped the space. But I paused, because I suddenly had this flash of an idea, something that wasn't about revenge or proving anything. Something that was just mine. So I called an old friend, Maya. She used to be a line cook at the diner. Left after Danny yelled at her one too many times during a dinner rush, and my parents blamed her for being too sensitive. Spoiler, she's not sensitive. She's brilliant. She started her own supper club out of her apartment and had a wait list longer than a Kardashian's PR email. I said, "What if you open something real, a tiny kitchen? Your name on the lease. Full creative control. I'll invest. But your face is the brand." She didn't even hesitate. "When can we start?" Within 3 weeks, we'd restructured the space. New name, Mum. Simple. Clean. Vietnamese word for table. As in, come sit. Come eat. Come belong. We didn't do flashy signs or PR campaigns. Just soft lighting, handwritten menus, and an open kitchen where Maya ran the show like the badass she is. First night booked out in 2 hours. Second week, local food critics started asking for interviews. By the end of the month, we had people lining up at 4 p.m. for a seat at the bar. And the best part, my parents didn't even know. Until one day, my mom showed up. Not because she got an invite, because someone tagged her in a photo. It was a picture of me and Maya, standing behind the counter, big smiles, real ones, holding a bowl of Maya's signature lemongrass broth. The caption said, "Mum is a love letter to the overlooked, the quiet, the ones who fed us when no one looked. They're here now, and they're loud in all the right ways." My mom walked in while I was wiping down a counter. She looked around, eyes wide, mouth tight. "It's beautiful," she whispered. I nodded. "Thanks." She paused. Looked like she had more to say. Then shook her head. "I just came to see." I nodded again. Didn't offer a seat. Didn't ask questions. She walked out 5 minutes later. No scene, no begging, just quiet. Like she finally understood what that silence really meant. That night, I stood in the back, watching Maya do her thing. Customers laughing, music playing, The hum of something good being built. And I felt it. Not pride, not even peace, but place. I was finally where I belonged, not as a shadow in someone else's dream, but as part of something real. And no one could take it from me. Not family, not public opinion, not even guilt. I wasn't waiting to be welcomed back anymore. I had made my own table. And damn, it was full. The following weekend, my aunt showed up. Not Aunt Nye, she's always been chill. Stayed out of the drama. This was Aunt Han, my dad's older sister. Traditional, opinionated, dramatic with a capital D. She came in clutching a reusable grocery bag, wearing house slippers, and immediately scanned the space like she was about to call a feng shui consultant. "You redecorated," she said, eyes on the softwood shelves, the tiny bonsai by the window. "No shit. Auntie," I offered her tea. She waved it off. "You should talk to your parents," she said, cutting straight to it. "No thanks. They're old," she continued, like I hadn't spoken. "They've lost face in the community. Everyone's talking." I shrugged. "Not my problem." "You're their child." "Yeah, and they treated me like a footnote for 25 years. She scowled. "That's how parents are. They did what they knew. Your dad worked hard. Your mom gave you a roof. It wasn't perfect. Well, but I'm not asking for perfect," I snapped. "I just wanted basic human decency. Not to be treated like a sidekick in my own family." She pursed her lips, annoyed I was being so American about this. "Lena, don't forget where you come from." "Oh, I know exactly where I come from," I said quietly. "That's why I left." She stood up like she was preparing to monologue. But I didn't let her. "You came here to make me feel guilty. It's not going to work." She blinked, surprised. I wasn't the quiet niece anymore. "I loved them," I added, softer now. "Still do. In some small way. But love without respect, that's just imprisonment in a prettier cage." She didn't say anything after that. Just left the tea untouched and walked out. House slippers clicking on the tile. After that, things got quiet again. Too quiet. No more texts, no letters, no drama online. It felt eerie, like the calm before something. That something came in the form of a letter from a lawyer. Estate stuff. Not a will. No one was dying that I knew of. But apparently, my parents had started liquidating assets, trying to clear debts. They were down to the bare bones, just the house, a few savings bonds, and some antique heirlooms no one wanted until now. And guess what? They named me beneficiary of none of it. I laughed when I read that part. A bitter, amused, hollow kind of laugh. Because of course, even now, even after all this, they were still drawing lines in the sand, still clinging to the idea that punishing me somehow restored their dignity. The pettiness would have been funny if it weren't so damn sad. But here's what they didn't count on. People were watching. Not the internet trolls or bloggers, real people. Regulars from the diner. Folks who knew me when I was refilling coffee cups with my eyes half open before school. One by one, they started dropping by Mom. Not just to eat, to talk. Mr. Bennett, who used to bring his granddaughter in every Saturday for egg rolls. He told me how proud he was that I made something of my own. Mrs. Alvarez, who ran the dry cleaner next door for 20 years, handed me a little envelope with a handwritten note for your future, from one invisible woman to another. Even my old middle school art teacher showed up, said she remembered how I used to sketch floor plans in the back of the classroom instead of paying attention to algebra. "I knew you'd build something," she said. That part cracked me open a little, because for the first time, I realized I'd been seen, not just now, all along, by some people. I'd just been too deep in the rejection spiral to notice. One night, Maya and I sat on the floor of the kitchen after closing. We were exhausted. My hands smelled like fish sauce and basil. My feet were screaming, but my soul weirdly content. Maya turned to me and said, "You know what your superpower is?" I raised an eyebrow. "Passive aggression." She snorted, "No, patience. You waited, watched, worked. While everyone else was scrambling for attention, you were building your own throne. In silence." That one stayed with me. I'd spent so long thinking patience was weakness. That being quiet meant I wasn't bold enough, smart enough, hungry enough. Turns out it was strategy. Still, something kept tugging at me. Not guilt, not obligation, just unfinished business. Because as much as I'd moved on, there was still this ghost version of me in that old house. The kid who sat quietly at the dinner table, folding napkins while Danny got praised for remembering to tie his shoes. So I made a decision. I drove back, just once. The house looked smaller, like it had shrunk under the weight of everything it couldn't hold. Paint peeling, garden overgrown. That weird bird statue my mom loved still crooked on the porch. I knocked. My dad opened the door. He looked old. Smaller, too. Like the years had finally caught up. He didn't say anything, just stepped aside and let me in. Inside was worse. Cluttered, tense. Air thick with unspoken things. My mom was at the table. She didn't get up. I sat. Silence. Then she said, "You didn't have to come." I shrugged. "Didn't come for you." She flinched. My dad cleared his throat. "You said you wanted nothing to do with us." "True," I said, "but I needed to say a few things. For me." They both stiffened. I took a deep breath. "I'm not angry anymore. Not the way I was. But I'm not forgiving you either. Not yet. Maybe not ever." My mom opened her mouth. I held up a hand. "Let me finish." They froze. I spent years breaking myself into small, quiet pieces to fit into this family. And when I finally said no, you acted like I betrayed you. But I didn't. I chose me. My dad looked away. I stood up. "I'm doing fine. Better than fine. And I'm not here to mend anything. I'm here to close the book." My mom's eyes filled. "We didn't know how to love you right. That's the only honest thing you've said in years," I said quietly. "And I'm sorry for you. I really am. Because I would have loved you like hell if you let me." Then I walked out. Back at Mum. I took a deep breath. Then I started something new. A quiet wall, just a corner of the cafe, near the entry. Customers could write notes, stories, messages they'd never said out loud. To families, to lovers, to themselves. I put the first one up myself. It said, "To the girl they called too quiet, your silence saved you." And that was it. That was my closure. Not a fight, not a dramatic reunion. Just that note, taped to a wall I built with my own hands.